Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to the new episode of the AVFC Faithful podcast with myself, Dan, and of course, James, back again, reviewing the past week's action. And we get to delightfully go in with, unfortunately, just the two of us for some of you, but for us too, it's quite nice to just have a little catch up and a win to follow up on. But we'll start off with the generosity. So, how are you doing, James?
Yeah, not too bad yourself.
Good. It's a fun little Tuesday recording this. It's would have been all right yesterday, but some of us have got to take a cat to a vet, and one member of the podcast sounded like they needed to go to the vet by all sounds of things. But
Yeah, I weren't great yesterday. I weren't, but yeah, I like a bit of an earlier recording after we've won. Obviously, last week we recorded on the Thursday when it's. I do like it being a little bit fresher in the memory, and I'm feeling a bit casual today, and it feels the same as our win against Palace. It was quite casual in a way, wasn't it? We did majoritively have control. I didn't feel panicked. I mean, obviously, when they went down to 10 men, we sort of, I don't think we panicked, but I think we knew that we needed to adapt. We weren't quite sure how, but we still saw it out, majoritively well. And Palace offered what as a hard offside goal. I think that's all I can remember them offering. To be honest,
it literally was. They registered no shots on target apart from that. It was boring. If we're going to be plainly honest, it was a boring game of football, unless you're a Villa fan, in which case I find nothing more enjoyable than winning games like that at the end of the 90 minutes. Because I sit there and think, if you can win when it's not great, and we're winning against Everton when it is good, that's a good role for me, because 2 wins on the bounce, clean sheet at home, 2 clean sheets as well on the bounce. As much as we want to sit there and think, oh, why didn't we do this? Why didn't we purely dominate, more shots on target, a couple more goals? At the end of the day, it's not going to matter. I don't think our season is going to be defined on goal difference anyway. It's going to be defined by the fact we had that scouse wanker in charge for the first half of the season, which I'm totally over, of course. But that's the sort of thing that's what hinders us, not the fact that we're not beating Palace 3 or 4-0. The only takeaway from it is, of course, we may not have lost, but have we lost in the long run by the end of the game? We'll come on to Kamara in a bit, of course. I'm not gonna sign just yet, but you kind of do want to do the Catholic cross at some stage, don't you? When the news came through, I didn't know what to say, to be honest. But the goal as well. I think that the first thing I want to chat about was the goal, because we can talk about the fact that it was an own goal anyway, but the move was outstanding, and I believe it came from playing out the back. Who'd have thought it?
Yeah, it's I saw Greg Evans' article on it just after the game. It was another good article. Basically, it sort of pinned around the playing out from the back, and both of our last 2 goals at home have been 19-second from back to front, which it sounds really coincidental, but it's kind of not, in the sense that we play it out where we can, we attack the space, and what we tend to do is we tend to be quite not slow, but we're not like high tempo from the back until the moment where the space opens up. So when Kamara plays it into McGinn, that's when Cash bombs on, that was interesting in itself. I tweeted about it yesterday. I think the evolution of how the right fullback now is starting to get forward a little bit more, and he's making up the width, and I think that's probably a lot to do with Buendia coming in. He drops a bit more centrally, so we need width from somewhere else. But playing out from the back is, it's bearing fruit. It has done for quite some time now, and it's here to stay because it's successful. We've seen it now. As I say, the past 2 goals at home have been really, really nice football. The pass from McGinn, honestly, I was speechless because McGinn, for me, is a good footballer in the sense of how he presses players. He'll get around the box, he gets shots off and that. But sometimes he prefers a switch of play. That perfect weight of pass into space on the floor was just, you can't stop that really. It's hard to defend. But the playing out from the back, I know it still causes a bit of tension and a bit of panic in the stands more than anything. I think the crowd sounds like it's getting a little bit better, but it does sound also like there's still the moans and groans. But it's going to take bit more success for some of the fans to like accept it a little bit more. But they do have to accept it because that is the way that we're going to be playing from there.
Yeah, it's not going to be accepted, I don't think, until we're doing well on paper rather than on the pitch. For as much as you can look at a game sort of from a statistical point of view, you just don't. A lot of fans just are never going to buy into anything until they see genuine on paper league table or cup results. It's just the only way to please some sections of fans. And look, if that's the way you measure success, that's your choice as a football fan. It's no one's sort of berating you for that, but as someone that enjoys that style of football and wants a sort of a team that can actually play the game rather than a style of the game, but showcases the fact that we've got 11 footballers on the pitch rather than your defensive line, then a couple of midfielders that can do something, and then your attacking line. I think we're past that now. We're not at that bottom half of the table sort of stage where that's how we're surviving. So no, you're right, that the McGinn pass, you had some people, copying them on Sunday in a 7-0 win. That first goal, that Gakpo goal, is basically,
not
they watched John McGinn and thought, I need to be him. And who can blame him, really? As someone that spent the first half of the season continuously sort of dumping on McGinn, I do have to hold my hands up and say I probably didn't sit there and think maybe he's just been strangled in the system he's playing. And he's somehow now, despite the fact a couple of times he started with Ramsey, hasn't been swallowed up by the game and looked invisible. He's getting around. And I think a lot of people have said it. He's probably been man of the match at least one of the past 2 games, if not both. But for me, he definitely was on Saturday. I think he was the main outstanding point there. And yeah, I just want to say, fair play. And I hold my hands up. I didn't think about the fact that, it's not all down to him. And he's not the player. We haven't got the type of midfielders that are going to play every position perfectly. We're never going to believe that John McGinn is that. But if we're ever going to get the best out of a football player, we have to play him in his best positions in a system that suits him. And it looks like that's what's happening now.
Yeah, I said about McGinn, I think, when Emery first came in because of the style of play, said I weren't quite sure where he fit in, really. But now, obviously, Emery, because when he was at Villarreal, he played like one wider player on the right and then one midfielder that sort of cuts in on the left. And I thought that'd be Buendia and on the right would be Bailey. But we play this box midfield now, and that sort of really suits McGinn because he can, when we're in the 4-4-2 defending, he can press their fullback and their wide player. And then when we're on the ball, obviously he picks up that narrow space. And that's really hard for defenders or midfielders to pick up because you're then leaving another man spare. So it surprised me. But I think I was reading some of Twitter yesterday about McGinn because everyone's saying basically how he has surprised people and there was a little bit of hate around him, a few months ago. I know that there's always a debate, like I didn't see any hate, and then other people are like, well, I saw all of it, and it's like it does happen, and the only thing you can do is block and mute people, etc. But I think we were all alienated a bit by Gerrard. He was quite blatant, really, that he didn't rate a lot of the squad. He just wanted to have a mass overhaul, and he didn't think about coaching players to be better. He just wanted to bring in better players, whereas Emery is squeezing everything out of these players, and we know that he'll strengthen as well. And he's not going to replace them either. He's going to help them with more quality. And McGinn stepped up to the plate. I think you've got to say Coutinho as well. It's a shame that he's injured because he'd started to shine again. Cash, I thought he wasn't going to have a future. It's, we still don't know, obviously. The summer's a long time, but he's done well again the past few games. He was really good on Saturday. So I think it just shows, coaching, structure, belief. I'll get the feeling Emery's such a brilliant man manager. And I think the players, I think Leon Bailey on TalkSport said he's one of the funniest coaches he's ever worked with. And that's great. You've got to have that good feeling around Bodymore Heath. Because if you take that into match days, you've got more of a belief to stick to your game plan when it's not working out, especially. You know that you've got it in you. And I felt like when I was watching the game, obviously, you said earlier, it was a little bit boring. I felt like a lot of the time we were watching build-up play more than the attacking phase, but we stuck to it. We didn't venture into direct play, and we got the goal from it as well. And as I say, we controlled it. We're going to have games like that where it might be a little bit of a struggle to put the ball in the back of the net, but we had the control. We did create chances. It could have been 2 or 3. The Watkins chance, I thought it was in.
Yeah,
The
I
form,
jumped up. I'm
yeah,
not afraid to admit that I jumped straight out of my seat and I turned around and went, oh,
yeah,
okay.
because the form he was in, you thought that was
Yeah.
6-6 right there, and I think he'd been a little bit caught cold because he'd been isolated up to then, really. And then the McGinn chance in the second half
Yeah.
from the Bailey cutback. So it could have been 2 or 3. That's what we're going to see a lot from Emery. He's pragmatic, but at the same time he doesn't take away from the attacking talent. So yeah, overall it was a good result, 2 in a row, as you say, and another clean sheet which we needed at home.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure, hearing from at least a couple of people that went to the game, it's just a sense of relief for them as well, for the fans, to be able to go to Villa Park and see an actual result, and albeit not, like I said, the most spine-tingling game, but you just don't care when you leave and you win, do you really? You're not. I'll be honest, the amount of times I've seen Villa win, which is not that many at home, I don't really remember the performances. Like, I could not tell you when I went to watch us beat Sunderland 6-1 how we played. I remember the goals. I remember Ron Vlaar scoring a screamer, but I don't remember how we played at all. And that's just the way it goes most times. No one really remembers performances. You remember results. And I think all managers know that. And while it's great at the times to have the pundits and us and the fans talk about the performances, they know at the end of the day, it's a results business. And I think that's exactly why Emery attacked the game in the way he did, in the sense that last week he already spoke about, after winning, I don't care about today, I want to win next week, because he's seen the performances, but that's not enough for him. He wants performances and results, or results then performances. I think that's great to see, because we've had too many managers that go, we boys played great, can't fault the boys today, we played great, oh, it's been great. I don't really want that. I want to hear, look, we need to be winning these games, this is going wrong, we want to attack games like this. And it's perfect to hear, really. So it's nice to come away from a game like that where it's 1-0 and an own goal, but I still don't really have any complaints, apart from the fact that the referee should have sent Decore off for the first challenge. And I've watched it several times. I just don't get how it's not a red. And then, anyway, that doesn't matter. But what matters is what he caused, which I think we just need to talk about now, because somber point in the podcast. The man that's been heralded as pretty much a god on here and was a focal point of last week's conversation with Luis, is out for at least a month. And that's, I believe, was it Greg Evans said it was at least five out of our last 13 games he'll be out for. I mean, it's nothing short of a disaster. I think everyone would agree. This is one of the, if not, I think maybe Emmy, Martinez might be worse because of Olsen.
Between Emmy and Watkins, for me, it would be those two that would be the worst, I think. But yeah, it's a big blow. We know that he's a big part of build-up play. He's a big part of our defensive play, and I think it does highlight. It highlights some of the people that were saying in January that we lack depth. We don't lack depth. We just lack a bit of the quality in depth. We've still got players that can come in for Kamara, and you can guarantee that Emery's going to get the best that he can out of him. Whether it's Chambers or Dendoncker. I've seen shouts for Ashley Young to play midfield. I wouldn't put it past Ashley Young to play midfield. No. He's got the composure and the nerves. But yeah, I think it was said after the game that Emery said Chambers would be the most likely to play, and he did. He grew into the game when he came on Saturday. He looked a bit shaky at first, but I was saying on Twitter earlier, if you're not playing regularly week in, week out, you're going to be rusty. You're going to need to build up not just your fitness, your sharpness, your mental sharpness, because you're not used to that game state. So he needs a bit of time and he needs the support, just like all of them do. But I think as much as a big blow it is losing Kamara, which it obviously is, we've got to trust that the players that are going to come in are going to step up to the plate. And it does lead me on a little bit to the summer, because I was discussing a couple of weeks ago. Me and you are a fan of Ugarte from is it Sporting? I think it's Sporting Lisbon.
Football Manager.
Yeah, he's honestly he's quality, and I think I was talking to someone that said we don't necessarily need him. I was like, we kind of do need another player like that, because if you do lose a Luiz or Kamara, you want a quality player to come in. I mean, as I say, we do have a player to come in now, but not at the same level. So looking ahead, I think that's something that we might pinpoint. But yeah, it was sad. Twice in a season there, we're losing Kamara for a decently long stint, and yeah, obviously under Gerrard, I don't think it would have made too much of a difference. But now
No.
it is a shame. But we've just got to crack on with it. And I know Emery will have that view that it's sad, but it's football, and you've got to deal with it and move on. And we'll probably adapt in a way because of how much it does sort of hold us back without Kamara. So maybe we'll see a different sort of approach in just a tiny way. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think it's more so for me because I just love watching him play, and it's not nice having. You just want your best players playing at all time and the most enjoyable players to watch. But yeah, saying that with Chambers, I mean, as much as we can all sort of joke about it and say, "Oh, it's not great, what a shame." I mean, the result is he's going to be playing now, so just back him and there's no point getting all like Chambers is starting. What a shame. I mean, it's gonna and what I mean, we can then start pinpointing mistakes that Dendonka's made as well. I'm not saying that either that they're both different players anyway, and that's sort of what I was thinking anyway, is that no one is exact like for like replacement for him, because you're not going to get a like for Kamara unless you're spending big anyway. So yeah, it's one of those. It's just, I mean, it's a bit. I think poor Emery is just non-stop getting tests with this team. Like, I mean, he lost his number one goalkeeper at the start of the Christmas period as well. Now he loses arguably one of our best players as well. I mean, he is clearly adapted to life at Villa Park because this is how it is with us. Unfortunately, we can start looking up a bit and we will lose people like that. And then, he'll probably come to the summer and he'll realize, okay, so players do leave here and they want to leave here, and that's just the way it goes. And I think rather than dwelling on the negatives, there was one point I wanted to pick up with you because I don't stalk you, but I've seen your tweets, and there was a little bit of chat after the game about one Wilfried Zaha, and while I quite revelled in his dismay and Ashley Young throwing the ball over his head and winding him up, that's always just going to cheer me up a little bit. There was chat about a possibility of him joining the Claret and Blue. I mean, you quite fancy this as a shout.
Yeah, based off absolutely no rumours, to be fair, just because he's out of contract in the summer, and it's just something that has been on my mind for the past few weeks because he adds a lot to a team. I know that people don't like his sort of fiery personality, and I get that because it annoys me at times too, but it'd be one of those, I think, that when he plays for you, you'd absolutely love him because he's got the edge to his game that's going to help you in a lot of games win him. He's got pace, he's got power, he's got goals in him, he's got assists, and he'll lead from the front. And I think as well, he's a bit versatile. I could see him either in the front two or out wide for us, which would be handy. It's just, for me, Zaha's a bit of a weird one there because he looked destined for a top club 2-3 seasons ago, but he's stuck around at Palace and he's been professional with that, to be fair to him. But now it's looking like his time's coming up and he's going to have the pick of clubs, to be honest. I don't know if a big club comes in for him because, they just have to pay the wages. And then I don't know if he comes to us, but at the same time, we are quite an attractive prospect in a sense, especially if we do finish the season well and we wouldn't have a problem paying his wages as well. So it's a funny one, but I'd love him at Villa Park. I'm not going to lie. I know that split some opinion, but yeah, bring him to Villa Park in the summer,
Christ, could you imagine the training sessions between him and Mings? My lord, we'd never see them both on the pitch at the same time. We get an El Ghazi Mings situation again on the pitch, wouldn't we? My main comment of it was everyone would hate us. I mean, you'd have shithouse Sahara up top and shithouse Semi at the back. Like, no one's going to enjoy playing against us if that's the case. And well, I mean, that's not going to hurt our case, is it? Really, I don't want people to enjoy it, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I'd turn it down, but it's one of those that I feel like because there's been so much, I've spent so much of my time arguing about. It's like if Bruno Fernandes signed for us, it would hurt me because I've spent so much. Go through my Twitter, there's probably 100 tweets about Zaha about me just being angry about watching him play against us. And at the end of the day, it's mainly because he's always very good against us. And he's so good at winding me up as long with anyone else. I mean, when he scored, the first thing he did was, I'll just celebrate in front of the Villa fans and wind them up a little bit as well. And it
Yeah,
wound me up. And then when you luckily rescued me with a VAR shout because my very legal stream was frozen, I was saved. And so yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? Like, I've not dwelled too much on summer as a case because like I think we spoke about before about sort of wishing the season away.
yeah,
But yeah, it's one of those things where we know that that's a position that we're probably going to be filling up in the summer, and maybe if funds aren't exactly what we believe, then that's quite a pragmatic approach to go. Free, you know what you're getting. There was talk about the fact that maybe it was Emery that wanted him at Arsenal when the touts were coming from there. It's one that I
yeah,
could see, he'd make it work.
yeah. He
If there's
wanted him
anyone.
over Nicolas Pepe apparently, and they spent what 70 something million on Pepe instead. But yeah, he would be sort of like our first player. I think that'd be a sort of direct replacement for Grealish, and that's been what
Yeah.
2 years now, which is annoying that we didn't address that earlier. At the same of it took so long to address.
Now I thought we addressed it with 3 individual players.
Yeah, personally, would make you think that, but yeah, he would bring a lot to the team. And as I say, like I'm split on whether he'd come here or not. I think there's the London thing about it as well, whether he'd want to stay in
Yeah.
London. But yeah, we will see what the summer brings. And I agree. We did say, that there's still an opportunity this season of where we can finish. It is tight, what 5 points off 6 for something. So we've got to see how the season goes, but I can't help but keep looking towards the summer because I think it's an exciting period, not just the transfer window. It's when we see some of the youngsters come back. It's when we see the pre-season and you start to see it gives Emery that time to put this all together and put a real stamp on how he wants to go forward specifically. Because I think we have seen a bit of a flexibility to him recently. And I don't know whether that's just because of the squad that he has or whether he'll carry on like that. Because I was pretty sure that we'd stay with that sort of free at the back when we're on the ball. But now we've changed a little bit. And that's what I'm excited to see. Starting next season, we could see a little difference again. And you don't know who's going to be in the starting lineup. So do sort of have that impatience, that's probably the child in me that loves that sort of time of football. But there's still a lot of this season to go and it's exciting. And you said earlier, he's had a couple of tests now already in
Yeah.
his Villa career, Emery has. And to be fair, he smashed him. He beat United at home in his first game. That was brilliant. He's gone on this winning run, and then we had 3 losses in a row. And a lot of the time for Villa managers, he's then stopping the rot. And what he's done is he's won 2 games on the bounce now with clean sheets. So he's going to have to put with another test in losing Kamara, but moving us on nicely. He's got another test on the weekend against the West Ham side that we've not beaten in a long time. What did I say earlier? 2015 was the last win against them.
Yeah, 14-15 season. It was a nice little chat before the pod, so when we had a look at that. We both agreed we just hate playing them. It's not a game we look forward to. Like I said, the main game that comes to my mind is obviously last game of the season when we stayed up, and the fact that no matter what, we can't beat them because we're playing well that game, and then we concede that goal. And you think, well, this West Ham and David Moyes, it's just a horrible mixture because we don't do well against Moyes and we don't do well against West Ham. So, I don't really get the appeal of the game on Sunday. No part of it am I excited for it. But do I still think we're going to win? Yeah. And that's what's wrong with me at the moment is all logic goes out the window because I think Unai Emery's clown for army, isn't it? That's all my mindset goes to. You think, don't you? A team's just been beaten 4-0 by Brighton. Who we want to play them next? But it's West Ham, and you just know, no matter how well we pay, Danny Ings is scoring on Sunday.
Yeah,
100%.
I was going to bring that up. I'm ready for it because I know that it's going to be
kiss the badge and everything, won't he?
Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, I don't think he'll celebrate. I think if he scored, he'd do the old hands up and that. But
yeah,
I can
Or pick
almost
up the ball because they're 3-1 down, obviously, and they need to start coming back.
Yeah, doing that run back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can just almost see it now on social media when he scores on the 40th minute, and people at halftime are saying, "See, you shouldn't have sold him" and all that. But no, I am really torn because I don't think I'm quite out of that Villa fan frame of mind where even though we're looking good, there's certain fixtures that I feel like, oh, it's just not happening. But Emery's he's doing his thing and he's at the wheel, as someone have said before. And I just always see us going into a game and challenging in some sort of way. And even in that 3 games that we lost, there was moments in the game where we were the much better team. I mean, the Leicester game at home, that was just mad. We gifted 4 goals, but the first half, we were really exciting to watch. I thought City game, we were poor for 45 minutes, and then he made changes, and we looked really good. And,
Yeah.
we scored one, could have scored another. Arsenal game, we took them to the wire, obviously. So it is like exciting to think. I think we do tend to beat these teams that are below us now. And even though it's West Ham and I don't look forward to it at the same time, it just feels like another game that we're going to win narrowly, but majorly comfortably.
Yeah.
So I am torn. I wouldn't even know how to predict it. I mean, I want to say,
But you're gonna.
yeah, of course. I want to say 2-1 win, but I wouldn't be surprised if a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, well, I've gone 3-1, which
I
is
hope
always
that's
good.
good.
Yeah, because it is just because of the fact that the confidence is breaming. They don't look good at the back, and they don't look like they can hold on to anything. I do have the envisionment that Ings will be their only goal scorer, but then obviously you just got Bowen's always brilliant against us. It's just. Yeah, I'm not excited. I'm not excited. I will be when the team sheet gets announced. I'll be sucked back in again. But yes, here we go. Brilliant. And then it'll happen and I'll be sat there and I'll be shaking and I won't be able to up there with my can of beer like that, watching the game. And it's always been the same. So yeah, I'm happy with 3-1. I think. It hurts now when I say it. Every time I say it, I think I predicted 4-2 on Saturday. They would never score in 1, let alone 2. Luis looked at me like I was mental. He was like, he's predicted him to score 2, and they haven't scored more than 1 since Christmas.
Yeah, and that showed, didn't it? They were really
Yeah.
poor on Saturday. And, as you say, the West Ham off the back of, losing 4-0 to Brighton. But didn't they win 4-0 the week before that? It's
Yeah.
mad. This is a bit of a strange Premier League season. Some people say it's not, but it is. Like, it's still congested. It's congested from the bottom to nearly the top. It's only like Arsenal and City that are, way ahead, and it's been City and Liverpool in recent times. But it's crazy. You expect Fulham's, Brentford's, and Brighton's to slowly drop off, but you just don't know, and that's why I quite like there's a gap there because I think you do see a lot of talk about Brentford, about Fulham, about Brighton, and I think it's probably fair because mostly they're working on different budgets, especially Brentford and Brighton, and they do a great job. You got to give the hats off to them. But we're sort of going under the radar quite nicely, I think. Level on points to Chelsea and not far off 6th and that. And I think I'd like us to keep flying under the radar, keep plucking away, and get up the table as far as we can. I don't expect us to get European football, but the chance is there. We've just got to stick to what we're doing and believe in what we're doing, and we all know that we have got a chance. But I'd take like 8th or 9th this season, 100%. That'd be really nice, top half of the table.
Yeah, to be able to not have to scroll down to see our name, that has been my goal genuinely since we've come up.
Yeah.
All right, everyone wants Europe, but at the end of the day, that's the step, and that is sort of establishing yourself within that bracket. Yeah, you're right. It's so strange because you've got basically from Bournemouth, Everton, Southampton, all the way up to Palace, and then you've got us, and then Chelsea, and then there's the 3 above us, and then there's the 3 above that. Is so odd. There's mini battles everywhere. The real battle is, will we ever move away from 11th for longer than 5 in-game Premier League minutes? Because it just doesn't seem to be within us.
Yeah, I feel like everyone keeps saying it. I felt like we could win every game left of the season and still finish 11th.
Yeah,
It
yeah. I
is
think
quite
well, we
annoying.
could, couldn't we? It's not
Yeah,
beyond the realms of possibility at this stage.
yeah, exactly. But I still 11th isn't top half, but I almost class it as top half in a sense now because
It is
we're level as
when the
Chelsea
media
and that.
six go in there.
Oh
Remember, they
yeah, of
do a top
course.
11. So
Yeah, that's how it is, isn't it? But the gap between us and Palace in 12th is what 7 points now, and we we, we could make that bigger over the next couple of weeks. We've got two really good fixtures in a sense coming up with two teams that they're both in the bottom three or in the bottom four or something. That they're around that area. We should get a couple of nice results. I'd take 4 points out of the next two, to be honest. I know that we should be
yeah,
aiming for six, but I would take four. So it is one of those. We've got a nice little run coming up, and maximum points would be great. You get ourselves as far up at the table as because I know what football's like, and we could lose a couple in a row, and it would be a lot of fans would be looking over the shoulder and all that because you know what football's like.
yeah.
I feel just like majorly safe for 13 games left of the season. I just
Yeah.
feel like we are aiming higher now, and we are basically touching top half. It's frustrating that we can't see ourselves in that top 10
No.
currently, but I almost feel quite confident we will finish there, and that'll be exciting.
Yeah, you just need to capitalize on these seasons where a Chelsea or a Tottenham just aren't performing, and obviously Chelsea are the team this year. There's always one of the six, so you just need to be. We need to be the ones that capitalize on it, and I do see us there. It's just I still see it not being Chelsea. We're above for some reason. I mean, I still just going to upset a few people, but I obviously still think Newcastle are going to drop down quite a bit. But that's my little prediction for the season, just because I think they're being found out for the draw merchants they actually are. So, like, it's just one of those seasons where we broke down on one of the best opportunities we've had at the start of the season, because this was the season really where teams like Fulham, Brentford, Brighton were pushing the European places, and obviously Newcastle, and we missed out on that part of the boat. But it's sort of like it's docked again, and they're like, look, you may not be going all the way, but we are stopping off quite near. You're not going all the way to Malaga, but we're going to a nice little alcove in France if you want to pop there on the way down. Why don't we, eh? So no, I kind of see it happening. It's just a case of at this point I'm more concerned about seeing the results of performances more so than how it defines us on the table. And I want to just enjoy watching us for the rest of the season. I'm just aware of the fact that no matter what, every game we play against any of this bottom six is going to be scrappy hell, because they are fighting now. They know West Ham are looking over their shoulders all the time now, because Southampton are throwing themselves back in the mix. Everton is still, no one is buried, and that's the problem this season, is because usually there's one team that's buried, one team that's somewhat near, but they're still sticking with their style. Leicester this season, who we've got the pleasure of playing against soon. It's one of those seasons where I think the most comfortable games we're probably going to have, where there's actual styles going on and we might see just a calmer game of football, are against the likes of probably Chelsea. And that's strange to say, really, for us, because as Steven Gerrard says, they should be coming to the stadium and wiping the floor with us.
Yeah, that's a lovely phrase to remember, isn't it? But
I'm not bitter, I promise.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned Newcastle, because I saw a point that like someone tweeted the other day, and it's one of those silly things of it's a bit of an if but or maybe tweet, and he said like the difference between us and Newcastle this season is the game that we lost against them, because if we beat them, we'd be on 37 points, they'd be on 38, which is pretty crazy, because there was a long time when people were saying the Newcastle in the title charge for the first half of the season, and it is, I think, it's a testament to how well Emery's done and how he's brought us that much closer. And as I say, isn't it a bit of an if but or maybe tweet, but we're in the massively heading in the right direction, and another 6 points on the board over the next 2 weeks would be really nice, and we'd be on 40 points then, which is quite nice to say at that point in the season with 11 games left. And what did we get under? Yeah, exactly, safe. But we are aiming higher than that. But what was what was it that we got under Smith? Was it 55 points when we finished 11th? I think something like that. So that's
Should have wrote it down.
yeah. I think it was around about that, but
Have a look.
that'd be my aim. And next thing to beat is that 55 point mark, and we are what 21 points away from that now. That's 7 wins, and that's quite a lot out of 13 games to get. But that'd be so nice. I just all I want to see out of the rest of the season. I do want to finish that part, but I want to see that system progress and the players improve more, and see the philosophy get bedded in even more, because it is sort of like a mini pre-season before pre-season in that sense.
A thought's popped into my head, and it's a strange one, but it's a question I was asking myself today on the way home from work, and it's basically a sort of a take of what someone mentioned before, and it was a joke tweet sent to us, basically asking if you were to send one player to Birmingham City, who would it be? And what I was genuinely thinking about was, obviously, we could joke about it, but I genuinely wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy at this stage. So, the gardeners did the work for us there, not the actual gardeners.
Yeah.
But I was genuinely thinking about like because we always talk about who we want to bring in and stuff, and there was a lot of talk about Cash and Luca Dean and stuff, or making their moves. But the topic has sort of changed now because the way that he's moving the left backs and the way that Cash is coming in and doing a good job as well, especially the past couple of weeks. It's less so more than the case of people leaving now, and more of a case of, while we may need to sell to get funds, are these players actually good enough and wanting to stay and play sort of a bit part? Because, do you know what I mean? Like, Moreno and Dean seem quite happy sharing the games out between them. And I mean, I can't say that Cash is probably enjoying seeing Young ahead of him, but you've got to imagine that the idea is that Young won't be like that forever, although it seems like it the way Young's playing. Is it more so a case of perhaps the fact that these players, it's not as simple as they come in, they go?
No, it's not that simple. Not in every case, at least. Sometimes it'll be one goes out for another to come in purely because that suits us more. Sometimes one comes in and they compete because of different games. As we've seen with Moreno coming in instead of having Dean in some games, and that's how it works. One of the hardest parts about having a big squad, especially when you don't have European competitions, is keeping your squad happy. But the good thing is with Emery, he does like to tinker a little bit. I know that I quite like a settled team, more so from the back five. Really, I like a settled team, but I do think Emery tends to have like a 6, maybe 7 set players in a way, and then he just change it up a little bit. So I think that sort of will help us in bringing players in. And I think if we have got big targets lined up as well, I think that sort of sells it to other players, knowing what else is coming in. So it will be interesting in the summer, because we don't know who isn't in his long-term plans in general. He will be backing his players right now to get the best out of them, but in general, we don't really know what his plans are, and we've just got to follow that. So that's what's quite interesting about the summer, really. I always have, me, I have my transfer targets and who I'd love to bring in, but I feel so settled in knowing that he will get people that suit us compared to what we've done recently, which is just bringing in known names that are old on longer contracts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, that will it's a good point, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
It's just, yeah, I think it was more so just a case of being interested, because you get used to, don't you, as a Villa fan, that your good players leave and you replace them with the same level players. And there's all this talk of like Bailey going, or do we need to get rid of Bailey so that we have space to bring someone in? And yeah, I like the idea that it's not as simple as that, and that maybe we could actually just have depth for once.
Yeah.
And like Luis was mentioning, it's about having a squad, and that's where the best teams lie, is they have an actual squad worth of players. It's interesting. It's one to keep an eye out for. Obviously, if you ever want to hear anything about any possible transfer targets, just drop James to follow on Twitter, because he will put them out there, and they are always good, and they're always exciting ones. There's never a boring one. You're not going to get like a I don't know, like a James Tarkowski link really from James. It'll be
Can I just
someone.
shock you? I
Okay.
don't actually mean it. I don't mean it. I was going to say Tarkovsky, but no, I don't mean it.
I genuinely was. I was going to end the call then. There'd be no way. Be done. I'd publish it like that, and I'll publish a video a week later. My truth about the AVFC Faithful podcast.
No, yeah, it's thanks for that. I do have you could probably say almost a bit of a fetish of having a bit of a scouting part of
I'll try
like
to
about
avoid
football.
that word, but we can go for it if you want.
Yeah, I just I love it. I love checking out different new players, young players, and that. So it is, as I say, an interesting summer because I think on social media, you know what it gets like. I think there's a few dummies out the pram at times, and there's a few that do think they know better and stuff. And it's, as I say, I do like have my short list, but that's just a bit of fun for myself. And I know that Emery's got a really good talent ID, and he'll bring in players that do suit us. So it'll be fun, and I'm sure that he's going to do some good business in the summer.
Exciting. It's exciting. Well, I mean, from us, that's about that. We've got our predictions locked in for next week, and I'm looking forward to coming on beaming with Glory because it's Glory. That's glory and joy together. That is not Glory. That's not our next guest. No, that and Tesco Value Coke together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never forget. Wow. Unfortunately, Tesco Value Coke at the moment has been slightly crumpled up, and hopefully we'll be making a return in a few weeks for us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Beautiful stuff. Well, as always, of course, make sure that you're following us on Twitter at AVFC Faithful, at AVFC Faithful Pod. You got the whole 1874 and Dan_Clarkey. But the most important thing now is that all of you head on over to the YouTube channel, the AVFC Faithful podcast, because this is the home really of all content, and we're going to be branching out a bit more. Got a couple of people lined up that we want to bring on over the next coming weeks, and we got some more stuff to bring out. So keep an eye out. I'm going to say the old phrase, you got to like, subscribe, and pop your notifications on because there isn't a set time where the pod comes out. It is a bit it's a bit of a freelance sort of, we'll do it this day, we'll do it that day. We're cool, we're hip. It's what we do. We can't be bound by rules.
I've been looking forward to that first. Smash a like and subscribe, guys.
We'll switch up each week so that you can have a go. We'll find our phrase.
Thanks.
Smash the like. I do like that one. That one's coming next week now. Beautiful stuff. Well, as always, thank you for tuning in. And of course, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.